Now, while today may be a day of customs and traditions, the times in which we live are not. Never in our history have Floridians been as anxious about their economic future as they are today. Our people still carry a property tax burden too heavy to bear. Our property insurance market remains unaffordable, and now it is also unsustainable. And never have our people worried more that our children are not being equipped to win the future. The leaders of the Florida House have never had any illusions about the times in which we live. Last year, you led the way on property tax reform because you understood then, as you do now, that we needed to do something meaningful and comprehensive to help Florida prepare for an impending economic downturn. I am very proud that in October this chamber passed a bipartisan plan that would have lowered property taxes on all properties in a fair and meaningful way. Ultimately, we supported another plan that came to be known as Amendment 1, because a no vote would have been to vote to do nothing at all. But we were disappointed, because we know it would not help our state reverse troubling economic trends. Last year, our state failed to confront and solve the economic problems before us in a meaningful way, and now we are facing the consequences. Our real estate market is in collapse. Florida is second in the nation in foreclosures, and 3 of the top 20 cities for foreclosures are in Florida. Soon our construction industry will have worked its way through its commercial construction backlog. With no new work in either the commercial or residential sector, unemployment will rise. And next week, Floridians will wake up to the news that the state's general revenue will be almost $4 billion less than what we had estimated just 12 months ago. This is not just another year. This is perhaps the most important year in Florida's history. And these problems that we face will not go away alone. They will not solve themselves. Unless we act boldly, our economy will continue to lag behind the national economy, and because we depend so much on growth and on real estate and development, our recovery will lag behind the national recovery as well. What we need to do is unite behind our shared vision, and I believe that we have a shared vision across party lines of our state's future. It is a vision of a Florida with a vibrant and diverse economy where people can once again afford to own a home, save for retirement, and leave their children with a chance at a better life. This session, I'm going to ask the House to concentrate on 3 specific initiatives which I believe will lead us to that future that we all desire. First, I hope we will continue to limit government and its role. Florida needs meaningful revenue caps at both the state and local level. Today, I sent a letter to each member of the Tax and Budget Reform Commission asking them to place this on the ballot. But if they do not, I hope the legislature will. We need transparency in government spending. We need to put each government expenditure online so that every Floridian can see where their tax money is being spent. And we must continue our work on property tax relief. I know some are hoping that all this focus on the budget will get us to change the subject. However, remember this, Amendment 1 passed because of a very specific promise, and that is that we would do more. Now it's time to keep that promise. Remember this, if we do nothing, later this year the property owners of the state are going to receive a tax bill, and it's going to look a lot like the tax bill they got last year, and they are going to be upset. Some may have property tax relief, or property tax fatigue, but if we do nothing, come November, some voters are going to have incumbent fatigue. And so let me point out that over a 10-week period this winter, grassroots activists in Florida gathered close to 150,000 signatures in favor of a plan to limit all property taxes on all properties to no more than 1.35% of the taxable value of said properties. I ask you to take this initiative seriously and to give it the attention that it deserves. We should also deal with some of the inherent unfairness in our property tax system, items such as the presumption of correctness. We should balance our budget by living within our means. We should not spend money we do not have, and we should not rely on gimmicks. The second thing we must do is we must bring relief and reform to our unaffordable and unsustainable insurance system. Let's continue to invest in what we know works in insurance reform, mitigation and competition. One of the most successful innovations in last year's insurance legislation was the Capital Incentive Buildup Program. What Florida needs, in the words of CFO Sink, is 40 small private companies competing for our business.
This program encourages the growth of private insurance companies instead of the continued and unsustainable growth of citizens. We also know that mitigation works. We hope to expand the My Safe Florida Home program and look for ways to partner with the private sector while making it easier to begin home mitigation through a zero-interest loan program. And finally, we must bring our public education standards into the 21st century. The House is committed to creating a world-class curriculum to improve the rigor and relevance of our schools. We need to prepare our children to compete with China and India, not Mississippi and Georgia. We should also seriously consider supporting the vision of the university presidents to enter into a comprehensive higher education accord similar to the ones that exist in California and New York. Our universities play a critical role in making us globally competitive. We cannot have a vibrant economy if we do not have vibrant universities. And there is one more thing I hope we will do, and it applies not just to our economy, but to the very essence of who we are as a nation. In America today, we have a crisis of historic proportions. It is the tragic tale of what is happening to young African American males. Today, more young black men are headed to incarceration than to graduation, and the impacts of that tragedy are profound. These are gifted young men, and our nation is not benefiting from their talents. Many are also absent fathers, and so we have hundreds of thousands of young single mothers left to struggle alone with their children. It is intolerable and unacceptable that an entire segment of our population has come to believe that the American dream is not available to them. And we can never be the nation God intended us to be, so long as this tragedy persists. Before this session concludes, I will ask this House to pass comprehensive legislation to deal with this crisis. Representative Thurston and Representative Needleman have taken the lead in crafting what will be national model legislation. It will be comprised of the recommendations of the Council on the Status of Black Men and Boys and the Blue Ribbon Commission on Juvenile Justice. In addition, I hope this package will include the creation of a children's zone in Liberty City, modeled after a highly successful program in Harlem. This legislation will be aimed at addressing the underlying conditions that affect black men and boys throughout our state. And our goal will be, in conjunction with the faith community and the community at large, to promote the values of learning, of family, of prosperity, of unity, and of self-worth. If we accomplish this, it will serve as a lesson to the rest of this nation on how to address what is truly a national crisis.